It's big stakes in the big land. The race to replace Yvonne Jones could shake up the standings in the legislature. This is On Point Radio. Hi everyone, I'm David Cochran and welcome to OPR. For the first time since 1996, someone other than Yvonne Jones will represent Cartwright-Lansinclair in the House of Assembly. The province's newest MP left some big shoes to fill in the legislature, and all three candidates running in Jones' old seat are on this show today. It's a battle of red, blue, and orange, and you are listening to On Point Radio. And we'll be taking your questions and comments about this race on Twitter over the next 30 minutes. You can reach me directly through Twitter. It's at Cochran CBCNL. I'm alone in the studio this week, but our phone lines are full of by-election candidates. Lisa Dempster is running for the Liberals in Cartwright-Lansinclair. Dennis Normore is the PC candidate, and Jason Spingle is running for the NDP. Folks, welcome to On Point Radio.
Good afternoon.
So it's an interesting race, folks. Voting day is going to be June 25th, and I'm sure everybody in the district of Cartwright-Lansinclair already has a pretty good sense of who you are. But I want to give you the chance to introduce yourself to the broader audience listening here at home. So, Lisa Dempster, let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about you, the Liberal candidate for Cartwright-Lansinclair, and why people should vote for you to replace Yvonne Jones.
Thank you, David, for the opportunity. It's a pleasure to be here. Very, very familiar name in the district of Cartwright-Lansinclair, born and raised in Charlottetown. That's where I make my home. Moved away only for post-secondary education. Worked for 23 years with the unemployed residents of the region, helping them avail of training opportunities and connecting them with jobs where we could, and heavily involved at a community level, at a regional level, a zonal level, a Labrador level, and co-chaired a number of provincial boards, instrumental in getting them off the ground. So I guess you could say for about 2.5 decades I've been volunteering my time in the region, trying to make this place that I call home a better place for myself, for my family, and for the residents.
Dennis Normore, this is not your first time running in this seat. Tell us why this time it should go Progressive Conservative.
Well, I'm from Lancelot. I worked in education as a teacher, and my involvement in the district goes back 30-plus years. I love this area of Labrador, and I've been, working with many organizations trying to make improvements, at the district level and throughout Labrador, because I've served on the board of directors of the Eagle River Credit Union for 22 years. I've served as a trustee on the Western School District. And I've been a mayor, a town councillor, and mayor of the town of Lancelot, and had been involved with the combined councils of Labrador. I live in the area, and I'm passionate about the area. And not unlike Lisa, I have a strong record, and if elected in Cartwright-Lansinclair, I believe I will be a strong candidate for this particular district.
Jason Spingle, this is your first time seeking provincial office. Make your pitch as the NDP candidate for that seat.
Well, for the past 15 years in my employment with the Fish, Food and Allied Workers Union, I've represented the people in the district, right from throughout the whole district of Cartwright-Lansinclair on the most important industry, the fishery. And I have, built up a great deal of knowledge and expertise on those issues and issues related to the fishery, which are connected directly to the communities. And in my view, that's extremely important, as goes the fishery. So goes this district in terms of the economics and the overall development and prosperity of the district. And I think it would be a real benefit, unquestionably, to have someone with that level of expertise and knowledge to represent the people in the district. And all those skills that I've had in working with, people specifically in the fishing industry, in my view, will translate very naturally into representing the people as a whole. And, I should mention as well, I'm a native of Lansinclair, born and raised there. And but most importantly, I've kept that real strong connection to the district through my work.
All right, that's the introductions. Lisa Dempster, there's been some mention of the fishery. I know you were involved in the fight to get a school built for the town of Charlottetown. But as you look at this particular race, it's now June 7th. The voting day is June 25th. What would you say are the key issues for voters to consider as they decide who's going to replace Yvonne Jones in the House?
First of all, I want to say, David, we were much too long waiting for this by-election to be called, and it was no surprise to anybody. The Premier had 60 days to call the election. We were 55 days in. We were left far too long without representation, but that's where we are on the priority list with this government. We're pretty far down, and that's sad. There's many, many, many issues, and myself and Dennis and Jason, I'm sure, are all going to mention similar ones, because if you come in, if you're a stranger to the region and you come in a couple of days, you're going to know the issues. Up here in the streets, they got pavement over 30 years old. The last 3 trips that I've made up, I've lost 3 tires. I got 1 more to go, and I'll have a full set. We got huge issues with the ferry, and a lot of it is very simple stuff. Why do someone have to stand in the House every spring and ask the minister to put an extra crossing on May 24th weekend? We're waiting now. We're told we're getting a new ferry in 2016. That needs to be done in consultation with the people here to make sure that the ferry is going to be acceptable and up to standard and able to handle the ice conditions. Black Tickle, do I need to say anything about that? A community of 150 people, and they got 1 ferry a week. We need pavement down in Southeast. The roads is atrocious. Now we've got all this equipment. I know we're probably going to talk about resource development in a little while, but we've got all this heavy equipment coming down over our roads, coming off the ferry every single day, and they're just the little bit of good that was left in the pavement is totally being gone. David, last year, Port of Bath, 2 super ferries, 400,000 people went through. Their ferries operate year-round, and here in the district of Cartwright-Landsaclair, on the little dilapidated boat we're using, we had 100,000 people. We're not even connected yet to 138, so that'll give you an indication of the traffic going through, and we're not ready for it here in Cartwright-Landsaclair. And this is just not just a road for Cartwright-Landsaclair. This is now the link for Canada and for North America.
Okay, Dennis Normore, what are your thoughts on this? Because you're the one running to sit on the government side of the House of Assembly. That's a laundry list of issues from Lisa Dempster.
Well, yes, and you can't obviously deal with them all, but Muskrat Falls is one of the most important, significant projects in our history, right? And it's going to bring tremendous benefits to Labrador and especially this district. We're going to be getting good-paying jobs for the next 5 or 6 years, 3,100 direct jobs at peak employment, in 2015. And with the transmission line going to run right through our district, this is going to provide lots of spin-offs for the businesses and the communities. And Labrador needs that power. How are we going to develop this territory if we don't have power to provide for further economic development with IOC's expansion, and Alderon's CAMI project and so on? There's going to be a $15 billion investment in Labrador over the next decade. And the good news is that this government, sees the potential in this project with all the opportunities, and it's going to create for people. The outlook hasn't been better. The fishery is another big issue. It's the mainstay of our district, and we have plants, crab plants in Mary's Harbour and Cartwright, shrimp plant in Charlottetown, and a multi-species plant in Lansaloo. This government supports the fishery. And they've been there to support Labrador Fishermen's Union Shrimp Company over the years. This government supports the people of Black Tickle, that Lisa alluded to, when their plants close down. And I want to be there, too, to work with the processors and the fishers. So this continues to be a viable industry long into the future.
All right, so
our record is clear on these 2 important issues.
So, Jason Spingle, you mentioned the fishery in your opening remarks about how your background is with the FFAW and working with that particular industry. I'm guessing that's right at the top of your list of issues you want to consider for this campaign.
Well, certainly, I speak to that. And before I do, I'd like to go back to the transportation issue. Ms. Dempster mentioned she lost 3 tires. The road is basically, the paved part of the road has lived its life, if you will. It's crumbling apart. I mean, I've seen dramatic changes in the past 2 or 3 weeks that I've been down around and campaigning, and a tire is certainly a significant thing. But, I've had people tell me, what about if a small car hooks the ruts that are in that road and goes off the road or worse, for example? And it's a real safety issue now. One of the things that I think should be looked at is in other jurisdictions, they've had an open, transparent transportation policy whereby roads are given based on contracts for roads are put out based on need, the quality of the roads, and that's something that really needs to be looked at here. It shouldn't be based on if you're in government or wherever you are. It should be based on the need, and certainly I would suggest, I do a lot of driving all over Newfoundland, and I would say this road right now, from Cartwright to Lancy-Clare, is one of the worst I've driven on, and of course a gravel road is what it is.
Right.
I mentioned, I heard Mr. Normer on Open Line the other day, and he talked about the significant investment of this government. Well, we just noted the road. We have a ferry that's over 40 years old. Some days there's only one crossing. Once you go basically north of where Miss Dempster is today, West St. Modest, there's no more cell phone coverage. I talked to people in the Straits, for example, that don't have, they're building a new home. There's no more internet access, or at certain times of the day, the internet access declines dramatically. And, someone mentioned Black Tickle. Well, I spent 3 days in Black Tickle, and, there's been 12 years that there hasn't been any topping put on the road there, for example.
Okay, I want to dive in here a little bit. I want to start off talking about the whole infrastructure issue because, I visited the district a couple of times, but only during election campaigns, so I'm not intimately familiar with it. But you do hear the common concerns about the quality of the roads, hard topping, and also connecting into the larger road network, and issues with the ferry. So, Dennis Normore, why is this still an issue? Why is the quality of the roads in Cartwright Lancy-Clare still an issue after 10 years of the Conservatives being in power?
This government has been investing in Labrador. Since 2004, this government has invested $450 million into the Trans-Labrador Highway. Transportation is on everyone's mind in Labrador. And it's time now that we put a representative on government and to continue to get funding, to continue to get the infrastructure, the paved highway, upgraded and paved. But
are you saying that
can't
that happen with an opposition member, or are you saying there needs to be a government member to get that done?
Well, I think the government has committed to $15 million has been allocated this year for upgrading from Red Bay to Cartwright, and that's going to be completed from Red Bay to Goose Bay on a phase-by-phase, year-by-year project. So I believe that if I'm in the position, this is going to be come to fruition very soon.
Lisa Dempster, I know Yvonne Jones used to ask for more pavement and more transportation money for the district, but when you look at it is a significant geographic area, but the population is very sparse, about 5,000 people, maybe a little bit less. Isn't it tough to pour the amount of money required to fix it in based on population?
Well, excuse me, David, what you have to look at, like I alluded to earlier, it's just not that it's a road for Cartwright Lancy-Clare. It's a link through all of Labrador, through Canada, and through North America. And with all due respect to my fellow PC candidate, I want to beg to differ seriously. I'm just going to mention the fishery. This provincial government, they have never taken an active role in lobbying for positive change in the fishery. But basically, what I've observed, they've washed their hands of it. Jason mentioned Black Tickle. I was in Black Tickle myself. I flew in a little plane. I rented a four-wheeler. I went through that town. I can tell you, this government got no record in Black Tickle. And in places like Black Tickle, and I was in Williams Harbour in speedboat, and I was in Norman Bay campaigning at the last of the Bay Ice on Skidoo. And I don't think these little towns see that the NDP can do anything for them. We've been almost a year now, and we have not seen the NDP ask a question on Labrador. And all of a sudden, David, you mentioned that you've been in. David, you mentioned you've been into.
One at a time, folks. What?
And I'll give you your turn. David, you mentioned you've been into...
1 second there, Mr. Shingle.
You've been into Labrador when there's been an election. Well, that's not different than politicians, because most of the time you only see the government when there's an election called and they're looking for opportunism. I'm heavily involved in education. They're tripling and quadrupling.
Okay, Ms. Dempster, I'm going to have to let them respond, because there was a shot fired there, in a verbal one anyway. So, Jason Spingle, what about that? The New Democrats, really, their support is concentrated in St. John's. They do have Chris Mitchell on the Northern Peninsula, and you are from the district, but you haven't lived there in a while. So is that a factor in this race?
Not to me and not to the people I've spoken to. I was born and raised in Lansa-Clare, and like many other people, I spoke to someone the other day who, was asked about that, and the comment made about living in Labrador. I mean, Miss Dempster acknowledged herself she had to go away for work. This particular individual, who someone confronted him with, had served in our military for 25 years and was quite offended by that particular comment, as I'm sure many people are. I'm a Labradorian. I'm a Labradorian.
Just let him finish there, folks.
I'm a Labradorian, and I'm in this race because I believe in my home district and making it better, quite frankly. And anyone to take objection to that, that's up to themselves. But I don't think it's a factor at all. I think people know the work that I've done, particularly with in the fishing industry, and I think they'll see that good work and judge me on the record that I have.
All right, Mr. Normer, I want to bring you in there because Ms. Dempster did criticize a conservative record on supporting small towns in coastal Labrador, so some reaction from you to all of that.
Well, she mentioned education. I mean, the education of our children is the biggest single investment that our government, could ever do for the residents of this province, right? The PCs have invested, this government have invested $60 million in new schools for Labrador, 30 of which was spent in our district of Cartwright, Lansa-Clare, with 2 new schools built in Port Hope Simpson and Lansaloo, and we've also allocated money for one in Charlottetown. Mary's Harbour and St. Louis, for instance, 2 communities on the Southeast Coast, over this summer will get new roofs for their buildings, another $225,000 investment. We have the lowest student-teacher ratio of any province in the country. We have the highest graduation rate in history at 92%. So it's clear that our policies on education are working, and we have to continue to move forward. I also want to mention one other thing that was overlooked when we talked about transportation. Mm-hmm. This government introduced a winter ferry service to Corner Brook, which has been well received by the businesses and all the residents of Labrador. This was not done by any previous government. So our government's commitment is very clear and very solid. It's easy to sit back and criticize, but the people that are doing the work, right? But I haven't seen any real plan come out of either of the other parties.
Well, Ms. Dempster, I want to ask you a question about that, because schools were mentioned and a lack of attention to small towns. But I first became aware of your role in your community through the moldy school issue in Charlottetown. And the government's response to that was to come up with a temporary solution, investing cash, but also then committing to a whole brand new school for the community of Charlottetown. So is it tough to say that they're ignoring the needs of towns when in your own town they solved a problem by promising a brand new school?
Well, David, thank you. Let me respond to that. We are grateful for what we got in the community of Charlottetown. It's not a new school. We are the old gym structure, which is probably full of mold. It's being built onto that. The town is still battling that right now as I speak to you, because when the plans came into the town, it's actually to be a wooden structure with about a 30-year life, and we're not sure where we're going with that. The community, sadly, education should be a basic right, and we had to fight very, very, very hard. After all, the government of today is just managing the funds. It's public purse, but they have a moral and an ethical obligation to serve the people of the province no matter where they live, and yet we had to fight tooth and nail, and our Western School Board, and God help us now when we become under one.
Once it was determined that your school
Excuse me, Dennis, I didn't interrupt you when you were speaking.
You had mold problems, and the Western School District saw the situation, studied it, analyzed it, and went to government with a proposal to get that school redeveloped or to build a new school.
Dennis,
government in their wisdom, and I support them 100%.
We were number 6
it was government
when we started,
and the school board that put
that
school in Charlottetown.
Okay,
David,
go ahead, Ms. Dempster, finish off.
Healthcare and seniors is absolutely huge in this district, and my heart goes out to them. I spent 8 years dealing with sitting at a board table with people fighting for rights for health care and seniors. The human face of this district is lost, because when you sit at a table, all they're talking about is balancing the budget, and sadly, most of the time, they're trying to do it on the backs of the people with fixed income.
Okay.
We had to fight this spring to get the ground transportation reinstated back in St. Anthony, because the CEO went on the radio and said the service existed nowhere else in the province. If it existed nowhere else in the province, obviously we're in a unique situation.
Okay,
I'd like to interject there, Dave.
Go ahead, Mr. Spingle.
Yeah, no, on the issue of our health care, certainly there seems to be more and more issues cropping up all the time with respect to the services, and the issues need to be addressed. And, for example, the loss of 3 surgeons coming up at St. Anthony, I mean, that serves a large portion of the district. And, air ambulance issues, still there's major inadequacies there with respect to the timing of that service and such, and they really haven't been addressed. And certainly our seniors, the people who are really, have worked in our fish plants and worked as fish harvesters and all the other jobs right now. We heard last week at a meeting we had in the Straits area that 5 seniors weren't able to stay in the district because the space wasn't there for them. That's just unacceptable, that the people now at this stage in their life can't spend their remaining time where they lived their whole lives. It's just very sad to hear, and these type of issues need to be dealt with. And, from my perspective, I listened to the 2 candidates there, and what we've had in this district and what we've had, quite frankly, in a large portion of the province is a back and forth between the blue and the red.
Right.
And right now,
I want to jump in on that.
What I'm hearing is people are looking for a change, a new approach, consensus building, someone who's going to listen, someone who's going to work with the people to build a consensus and find solutions. And, I believe...
I want to jump in on that for a second here, Mr. Spingle, because you say, like, the NDP are selling themselves as the alternative, and there's a lot at stake there, because if you are to win that seat, the New Democrats would move ahead of the Liberals as the number 2 caucus in the House of Assembly. But, when you go back and look at the 2011 election, Bill Cooper ran for the NDP there, and he got 44 votes. Not 44%, just 44 votes. So you got to turn a lot of people around if you're going to win this.
Oh, absolutely. And I point right to the Straits White Bay North and Chris Mitchellmore, MHA, who's doing a great job in the Straits White Bay North, and the numbers were very similar there. Like I said, people are looking for a positive change, a new approach that'll focus on, building consensus and finding solutions, and that's what I'm offering in this election. And like I said, look forward to keep talking to people, hearing about the issues, and going forward. But,
Mr. Normore, what about that situation, though? Because this is not a seat that's been very kind to the Conservatives. This is your 3rd time running. This is a tough battle for you.
Every election is a tough battle. We can't take anything for granted, right? The people, the choice rests with the people. But if I could go back to something that Jason mentioned about, the turnover and the loss of surgeons. Labrador Grenfell Health, is a large organization, and there's always turnover, but recruitment is always ongoing. And a fact about health care, since we're on that topic, the South Coast of Labrador has received like $5.1 million since 2004 in health care equipment and repairs and renovations. Just a week ago,
right,
I was with the health minister when she announced $700,000 for this district. Yvonne Jones was in attendance, at that meeting. And she admitted that this government and this minister delivered for Cartwright Lancelot. And what she was talking about was with regards to reinstating the travel for patients from the airport at St. Anthony to St. Anthony Hospital.
She did praise that,
even Yvonne Jones has admitted that this government has delivered.
Well, Lisa Dempster, on that point, because you did have a long list of issues that you feel needed to be dealt with and haven't been dealt with in your district. But with the exception of electing Yvonne Jones as an independent in 1996, that district has almost always been Liberal. So is there a message in that the inability to get some of these chronic issues fixed with Liberal representation, how should voters read that?
Well, I would say they would need to be very careful about voting for the government of today if they're going to turn around and tell us that we've been being punished because of that. Because as I said earlier,
we've been punished by Liberals. Because we've had Liberal representation since 1949.
Let her finish there, Mr. Normore.
Thank you, David. Thank you. I can tell you now, I ran for the Labrador seat on the Provincial Municipality Board in October, and that gave me a taste of what's happening on a provincial level. This government do not believe in the sustainability of small towns. And people of this district deserve opportunity. We are a strong people, resilient, and an innovative people. And when you look at the 3 parties, I chose the Liberal Party because it is the party that believes they've got the balanced approach. fiscal responsibility and good base of strong social programs. And we are where we are today because we've had a strong voice in opposition, but with the momentum building for the Liberals, Trudeau's going in with a landslide. That's down on the provincial level. I was out to a provincial event last week, and the word in the air right across the province, everything is going red in 2015.
Well,
so it's obviously more than Lisa Denver.
We're going to have a new poll.
That's all speculation.
We're going to have a new poll coming out next week, so that'll give us a sense of exactly where things stand. But no, Ms. Dempster, we're running out of time, Ms. Dempster, so I want to give one more final word to Jason Spingle and then Dennis Normore. We've got about 60 seconds left. So, Jason Spingle, a final 30 seconds from you, please.
Well, I just referenced the back and forth there, David, and it's clear that a new approach is needed. This by-election now, will give an opportunity to this candidate to have 2 years to, like I said, find some solutions to problems that have been ongoing. The PCs have been in power for 10 years. The Liberals have been in opposition in this district and also in the government. And now it's time to have an opportunity to move forward in a new and positive direction. I'm offering that. Our party is offering that. And I'm hoping the people are going to embrace that opportunity. And like I said, I look forward to that opportunity.
Mr. Normore, your final thought from you.
David, this government has invested more money in this province than any other government in history. In fact, this government has poured over $1 billion into the Labrador since 2004. So it's obvious that the government has listened to the people. This government has a vision and a long-term plan for the long-term viability of the province. Neither of the other parties have any kind of a plan.
Okay, Mr. Normore, we are right out of time, and the computer's going to cut me off, so I'm going to have to cut you off. I apologize. Dennis Normore, Lisa Dempster, Jason Spingle, thank you so much for joining me this week on OPR, and good luck on June 25th.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Have a good day.
That could have gone on for 2 hours, but we are out of time. That is it for OPR. Don't forget to watch On Point Television on Saturday night, folks. That's at 7:37 in Labrador. A firebomb, a drive-by shooting, and talk of biker gangs dominated the St. John's news this week. We're looking at the police response and hearing from City Hall. Shani Duff and Danny Breen join me to discuss the drug-related violence. You can catch up on all of our past episodes on our webpage, cbc.ca/onpoint. I'm David Cochran. Thank you so much for listening.